Welcome, teacher friend. I'm Lori.
And I'm Melissa.
We are two literacy educators in Baltimore. We want the best for all kids, and we know you do too.
Our district recently adopted a new literacy curriculum, which meant a lot of change for everyone. Lori and I can't wait to keep learning about literacy with you today.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Melissa and Lori Love Literacy. We are really excited that you're here with us today because you probably have just as much time as we do right now, which is a lot because we are at home self-quarantining and social distancing and learning all kinds of new vocabulary words. Also homeschooling our children while we're trying to work. Melissa, how's it going?
Yeah, it's a crazy world right now, right? It's a lot of Zoom calls with kids and pets in the background, and it's really interesting, and a lot of questions from parents, right? There's a lot of not knowing, like how long this is going to last. Mm-hmm. We here in Baltimore are on 2 weeks. We're wrapping up our first week of 2 weeks not being in school, but I think that everyone is foreseeing that it will probably go a lot longer. So I think, 2 weeks is manageable for some people to not quite know what to do with their kids at home, but thinking that this could last for the rest of the school year, I think is a whole nother ballgame. How are you doing over there with Presley?
It's a little unnerving. She's doing really great. I'll talk about it, we can talk about this later on too, but she's been doing the Wit and Wisdom, the Eureka Math, and the PhD Science lessons that Great Minds has up on their site. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about that today because Natalie Wexler just produced an article for Forbes, and we're going to talk about how to engage kids and build their knowledge when schools are closed, which is what Natalie talks about. But she's been doing these fabulous lessons, and it's just really cool to see her self-direct and self-engage in her learning. She's in second grade, so it's taking her about an hour and a half to do both ELA and math right now because she's pausing and doing the work. So it's really cool to see her do that. And then I thought it was hilarious because she was talking to the Zoom, or to the Zoom, the recording. It would say like, did you get this answer? And she'd be like, yes, I got it.
That is too funny.
Yeah. Lots of parents and lots of families listening are having that same question. Like, what do you do? I know. Are you worried about Elliot? Because he's just in daycare.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's only one, so we get to just do the same things we normally do. Yeah. We read books, we sing songs, we do the normal stuff. We talk about things that he's looking at and try and get him to say words. So it's a lot easier.
Yeah. Exactly. I feel like that's so much more natural for most of us than the parents who are suddenly trying to be teachers.
Exactly.
And I know we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, but we were thinking like there's kind of two camps of parents right now happening, and it's kind of fun to watch on social media. It's like the set of parents who are like, I need to homeschool my child and have a whole agenda and list. And I totally get wanting to control what's happening right now. You're going to do that and try to have some organization in a disorganized world. Yeah. But then there's a whole other set of parents who are like, whatever, it's cool. We'll just love each other. And both are fine.
Yeah. And there's a whole spectrum in the middle of that, I'm sure.
So I think today we just wanted to talk a little bit about if you're in the camp of parents who want to provide some sort of continuity for your kiddos because you're thinking this might go on for 2 weeks, it might go on for 2 months, or it might go on for 3 or more months and roll into summer and leave your child with essentially 6 months of a gap in their education, how we can support them in that.
Yeah. And I mean, you already mentioned Natalie Wexler's article, but just to say it again, just came out yesterday, March 19th. It's how to engage kids and build their knowledge when schools are closed. And where I think this actually goes with like a lot of things we've said in our podcast before, which is, we had a whole one about how parents can just help their students generally. And she's really smart in what she says is that, thinking about things like the fundamentals of reading, like actually teaching students how to sound out words, is definitely daunting, right? That takes very specialized training for teachers to do. But there is a lot that parents can do that doesn't necessarily take that specialized training that will make a huge difference and keep that learning loss to a minimum.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And it's also, I think, very intuitive for families to do this and for parents and caregivers to do this, because she notes in her article, I'll just read this part. She said, one of the things parents can do if they have time is to read aloud and engage in open-ended discussions. Fiction is fine, but delving into books on history and science is a powerful way to build kids' knowledge. Consider reading a cluster of books on the same general topic, the American Revolution or sea mammals, to give kids a chance to absorb and retain information and the vocabulary that goes with it. And to me, that's, as a mom, and to you, that's super manageable, right?
Yeah.
Read, discuss, and it's exciting. It's like, let's create a whole, topic menu for this text set. Like, let's come up with different videos and things we can do to build our knowledge on a topic that everybody's into that.
Yeah. And I mean, parents probably might stress about like, well, what topic, right? And sure, there are topics that are probably more suited for certain age levels, but you can also go a little bit by, if your student's just really into, or your child, not your student, well, student for now. If they're like really into something, like I know that I think a lot of kids go through like a dinosaur phase, right? Like capitalize on that, right? Let's learn as much as we can about that. Or if you as a parent have something that you are really passionate about, capitalize on that too. Or, if you're getting packets sent home and you notice some trends in the kinds of topics that are being talked about in those packets, right? That's where you could kind of pick up on where do you even start with what to read about?
Yeah, that's a great point. What I'm doing, because Presley's doing these lessons with Great Minds, and if you're listening and you're like, what are you talking about, Lori? Go to greatminds.org. Great Minds is offering teachers, so free resources. Teachers are providing virtual lessons for Eureka Math, K through 12, PhD Science, grades 3 through 5, and Wit and Wisdom ELA, grades K through 8. They do not pay us to say this. We don't get any money from Great Minds. This is just like an incredible resource that we're sharing with you. And so what we're planning to do is to just read more about the topics that she's learning about. And I'm going to even have her, since she's in second grade, scooch up and do some of the, third grade PhD science lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's so easy and natural to do that. Melissa, do you have any resources as to where we can like find more information or find more books besides obviously, a YouTube video or Googling for resources, which seems a lot.
Because this can be hard too, right? At least here in Baltimore, our libraries are closed, mm-hmm. right? So that makes it a lot harder. I think that the Pratt Library is doing some like delivery of books. And I know some other places are like, we have a bookstore in town that is also doing some delivery. So, it's possible to get books, but just something that I came across yesterday was Audible. The Amazon Audible app. I listen to audiobooks all the time, so I'm very familiar, but they have at least a set of books that you can listen to for free for kids for now because of what's happening. Some of them are not necessarily things. I am not a White Fang fan, right? And that's on here, but some kids love it. But there are some things here that you could start to see it might connect to a topic. I think this is not in the Great Minds in Module 4, but there's an Under the Sea, and they have the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea as one of the texts here. So you might find some things there where it could connect and continue to build that as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. Also, I think too, if so I'm the grade 7 virtual teacher for this welcome module for Great Minds, and it's really amazing to be able to be a teacher at this time and to feel like you're making a difference. But when we roll into our Module 4 lessons, which happen next week, grade 7, Module 4, the texts are Fever, 1793, and An American Plague. And I'm just grabbing them right now because I was up when I can't sleep, I read. So I was up at 4:30 this morning, just reading Fever 1793 and completely obsessed and just thinking, if I had a middle school student at home, I would be reading this book with them. Give us so much content to talk about because it really connects to what's happening right now in the world. So any opportunity to build knowledge on what's happening right now too, in a way that makes your child or your student feel, still feel safe, but build their world around them is a good opportunity too.
Yeah, and I think when you all do the lessons for Great Minds, you offer a way for the students to get that text, right?
Mm-hmm. So we recommend, e-library, any kind of free resource such as Audible has I think several free downloads that you can use. We're also reading the books aloud and using doc cameras. So if folks can't access the books, because, I know right now I tried to get a book for myself for personal reading from the library and it was on hold for e-library for 4 weeks. I was like, come on. But, there's lots of different options for access. Like for the little guys, there's Tumble Books, things like that.
Yeah. And I'm looking on the Audible right now, the website that I mentioned. And I mean, it's a slight connection, but a little history of the world. So it's a short version. But, if you're thinking about history with 1793 and what happened then, there might be parts in there that audiobook would connect. So yeah, do a little searching, but you could definitely make some connections.
Yeah. And I think too, to plug YouTube, they have a ton of books that are read out loud and show the text. Parents, check out YouTube as well. That's really, really helpful and an easy search.
Absolutely. And speaking of YouTube, I mean, even things like, I think that Natalie Wexler brings up Bill Nye, and I don't know how many times I've heard Bill Nye in the past week, right? But it's true, right? He just definitely helps to build knowledge and vocabulary for students, and other things that are like that are really helpful. So there's probably a lot of TV watching going on anyway. So if some of it can be building some knowledge, that would be great.
You can look for the topics that your child is doing the lessons in PhD science on, and Bill Nye the Science Guy, and build and connect through the topics that way, build their knowledge.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love Bill Nye?
Who doesn't love Bill Nye?
Bill Nye, we love you.
And I just wanted to pause for a second, because I know that we know this very well, but we're talking now about science, and how does that connect to, weren't we talking about literacy, right?
Uh-huh.
But it's huge, right? That vocabulary that they're getting from those kinds of things, and from the general background knowledge of this. Imagine when they go to read something about whatever Bill Nye might be talking about. They're just that much more ready to read those texts because they're making these connections, they're building this knowledge. And so this is really actually purposeful, not just, this seems like a good use of time for right now, but it really is purposeful for them to become better readers.
Yeah. And I love the idea too of, jotting it all down in a little notebook or on a whiteboard or somewhere, so that the kids can keep record of just what they've read to build their knowledge or how it helps them build their knowledge. There's just so many incredible resources available right now. I guess if I had to give a piece of advice to a parent at this time, I would say don't get overwhelmed and just stick with a couple resources. If you're going to have your kids do the Great Minds lessons like I am, then choose that and choose a couple others that support what you're already doing as your core resource. So you don't need them on 12 different sites doing 12 different things. Choose the one that works for you and then build around that, just very slowly, strategically. Don't be overwhelmed. And I know we're here to help. If you have questions, we have a whole website. So reach out, email us. We'd love to.
And we'll link a bunch of these resources. We'll link Natalie Wexler's article, which links a bunch of these resources as well. One thing that I know that she mentions in here that I just want to make sure I plug this one too, because it's great, is the writing revolution. So you mentioned writing.
Just looking at that.
I mean, it's so good. And I put my name in to get the free resources, but I haven't been able to look at them yet. But that book is so great that I could imagine, and they start at like sentence level, right? So it's not like we're going to be asking parents to do whole essays with their kids at home, right? But like little things that they can do to help with writing as well would be really great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's really important.
And Lori, you mentioned another resource too, because you're more familiar with the little guys. But we said that like don't stress about trying to like teach phonics, and that the whole like it's huge. Yeah. It's a huge thing that's really tough to learn, and some teachers are struggling with even teaching it. So we know it's really tough. But you had a resource that you thought might be helpful for parents. Do you want to share that?
I have a great resource for you, because we want to acknowledge that Natalie's article in Forbes is really focused on building knowledge on a topic. But if you have a student who is in K through 2 and you're feeling like they might miss out on some foundational skills instruction, I totally understand. I'm in that boat too. I have a second grader. So a really parent-friendly resource is Florida Center for Reading Research. They have student activities, and you can see different like buckets. So there's activities that focus on phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency. I would focus on those, and you can choose your child's grade level. So K1, 2, 3, and you can use them to help you build their phonics skills during this time. They're really, really accessible and very easy. There's like a little directions page. Then your child would, typically cut something out like pictures and do like a picture sort or a picture match. And it would just be something that you could talk through with them. And there's an answer key for you as an adult. So don't worry, you don't have to be an expert. But it's just a really great resource and just something that might help you on the flip side. I know we talk about science of reading a lot on here. And, when we talk about Scarborough's rope, the bottom part is what I'm talking about now in terms of foundational skills. And the top part is really what Natalie's article in Forbes is addressing. So we just wanted to name that as how that's working in tandem during this time as parents are struggling to figure out what to do for their children and their students. And I love those that we're calling them our coworkers now. Have you seen that on Melissa?
Yes.
On social media?
both pets and children, right?
I can't even, I laughed till I cried at some of them. I was hysterical. Yeah, Melissa, is there any advice that you want to give to parents?
I would just say that, I think that Natalie says it in the article too, is just like this can be fun, right? Like I've read some posts online too of like parents who are kind of stressing out and feeling like they don't know how to teach these things, right? Like the way we just talked about, like being able to just read books and watch these videos and just build this knowledge and ask questions. And, that can be fun and not feel like you're just trying to recreate school at home and make it a super stressful situation for everybody.
Yeah, that's a good point. I know that it's just, I'm thinking of it like that way. Like just let's have fun. Let's learn about some topics. Let mom get some work done. And, just a little tip, like doing things in, having little times like every day in the middle of the day, we're going to take the dogs for a walk or something that makes you feel a little bit more human and less chaos is happening as the chaos around you is happening. So,
yeah. It is a crazy time right now, but
we are going to let
everyone through it.
Get back to business. We're so grateful that you listened. Please, please, please follow us on Twitter, Melissa and Lori Love Literacy. We have a website, Literacy Podcast. Melissa, anything else?
Good to go.
On Facebook and Instagram, everything, all the things. If you haven't liked all previous guests or followed them on Twitter or followed them on Facebook, or please do so. That's a great way to stay in touch with everything that's happening in the education world.
Yeah. And we'll have many more of these for you over the next couple months since we have time and everyone has time to listen.
Exactly. I love it. All right. Have a wonderful day. And thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks everybody.